Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Coalition League Summer Split. We've got the silver semi-finals here. I'm Random Minion Caster, and alongside me for this series, we've got a special guest caster this evening. It's Chaotic Obsidian from Glacial Omen of the Demacia Division. How you doing, Chaotic Obsidian?
Well, I'm doing pretty well, actually. Saw this matchup here, realized that I've played at least a couple of these teams back when I was in the Silver Division. Figured I'd jump on a cast with you and see how it ends up.
For sure, for sure. And yeah, you guys actually upgraded from the Silver Division back in, what was that, week 2, week 3?
Yeah, we played week 1 and 2 in the Silver League, and then transitioning into week 3, we joined the Gold Demacia League.
For sure. So yeah, definitely you'll be somewhat familiar with them. And the teams are going to be Pendulum versus HypE Esports here, the second seed versus the third seed in the Silver Division. On the blue side is Pendulum Gaming, top laner Killer Unicorns. In the jungle, it's Timic. In the mid lane, we've got Yasuo only, ADC, Nerf, Snugglebutt. And for support, a bit of a change. It's going to be Killer Lil Ninja coming in for support for Pendulum today. On the red side, it's HypE Esports with Rings in the top lane, Non-Stop Brain in the jungle. Mid laner, Tommy Peppers, ADC, Ray, just 3ND, or just Ray. And for support, it's Fluff Get Smashed. And we're just going to hop straight into picks and bans here. For bans, Pendulum banning out the Xerath, Ziggs, Zac, Mordekaiser, and Galio. And for HypE Esports, it's going to be Diana, Yasuo, Vi, Nico, and Cho'Gath here in terms of picks. Pendulum going to instantly pick up their bot lane. It's going to be the Ezreal for Snugglebutt. We've seen him on a lot. Shen, most likely that's going to be support for Killer Lil Ninja. It is his namesake champion here. Jarvan in the jungle, Vel'Koz mid lane, and Urgot for Killer Unicorns in the top lane. For HypE Esports, it's going to be likely a Senna Braum bot lane. Sejuani once again for Non-Stop Brain. Oh, that's an Orianna for Tommy Peppers. And once again, the Teemo for Rings was not banned this time here. So, Chaotic Obsidian, with this draft, what are your thoughts on the picks and bans so far?
I mean, the picks and bans, aside from Teemo, it kind of looks pretty similar, and it kind of looks like a repeat of the last time these teams matched up. They looking into the bans, you can see a little bit more of that essence. They banned the Xerath here. It's not something that Pendulum played in the last series, but last week they played, I believe, 3 straight games on Xerath HypE actually did with Tommy Peppers. So, to just ban that out, I think that makes sense. It's clearly something they were trying to practice here, and the Sejuani Xerath was a combination that they were pretty familiar with. In terms of the other picks, Urgot is a pretty strong top laner. I'm not really familiar with the Teemo Urgot matchup. I would say that it's going to be a bit of a coin toss until the junglers start getting involved. I don't really know that it's hardcore counter either way. Teemo he's always somebody that just kind of has range to bully someone. It's kind of a troll pick in some people's eyes, but obviously if Rinks is familiar with it, it's a big value to stick with comfort.
For sure, yeah. Rings has shown in the past of quite a limited champion pool, but he did expand it last week with a Gangplank shown as well. We're not going to see it this match, but he is very proficient on Teemo. It has actually been banned away from him quite a few times here. Now, in terms of the picks, is there one side or the other you think that kind of won out compositionally here, or what do you think are sort of the win conditions for each team?
Well, I think I think there are positives and negatives with each draft. To me, the combo of Pendulum Gaming probably wins it out of my mind. The J4 into the Shen taunt with the Vel'Koz long range, that's going to be pretty good engage and pretty easy to pull the trigger anytime, really. You're relying a little bit too much on Jarvan being able to get the Shen into the team, I think, in my mind. I wouldn't see many situations where Urgot is going to go jumping into a full team with Sejuani, Braum, Orianna, Senna, and Teemo. Like, each of them can kind of just duel him down and poke him out. But as long as you've got the snap initiation from Jarvan, hit into the Cataclysm into a Shen taunt while Vel'Koz is throwing down the damage and you're laying the Ezreal ult, I give the overall team fights to Pendulum. I think the early game, there's some potential for HypE Esports. But I think it's really going to come down to how well they can execute that Orianna Sejuani Wombo combo. And just keeping everybody alive with Senna is going to be pretty important. Maybe you can even layer the Senna ult on top of that Wombo combo that Pendulum tries, but I think it's just going to be too much damage. Really, if this gets to a an even game state, 27 minutes, they take a team fight, I think it's Pendulums to lose.
For sure. So HypE Esports gonna have to make sure that they make the moves early here in this game, or they will fall behind. And I mean, they do have a center to scale up, but they don't exactly have a tank buster on their end. And as you said, the burst from Pendulum, pretty massive here. We're seeing a whole bunch of pings coming down towards that bot side. It looks like HypE might be looking for a level 1 invade, a ballsy move against Ashen here.
Yeah, I mean, the level 1 with Braum is also pretty good. You can't really underrate it. I think if they end up getting this face check, yeah, they're just going to walk it out here. The level 1 Vades against these teams, they tend not to be all that successful in my mind, especially going through that bottom tri-brush. People have just been playing too safe around it, you know. They just drop that ward down, walk out the backside, and there's nothing you can really do.
For sure, and that's good on the side of Pendulum that they did defend properly. We have seen some invades get kind of wonky here in the Silver Division where people don't defend properly, and they do take the opportunity to make sure they get some deep wards here in response, so they should be able to track out where Non-Stop Brain is going. And it looks like both junglers will be opting to start here on the bottom side of the map, so we might see some action level 3 on the top side or mid lane here.
Yeah, and just looking purely at what they got from that invade, you know, the red team, they got a little bit out of it. They got a tri-brush ward. You can get that without even stacking 5 men, honestly. But really, the value comes through getting that deeper ward on the Raptors. They're gonna know where the Sejuani's starting, whereas they're just gonna have to take their best guess as to the Jarvan. You know, you can see them walking through this leash, but they manage these leashes fairly well. You can tell just by the health that the bot lane actually did leash instead of Urgot, but in just pure timing of getting back to lane, that was just about right to fake the leash. But at the end of the day, they're going to know Jarvan started red, because that's just pretty standard.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of... well, the thing is with the junglers a lot of times too nowadays, it's hard to tell, but bot lane, some action coming in. Snugglebot getting the stun up. He's going to eat a bunch of damage here. That's going to set him a little bit behind for now. And interesting to note, that's not a fasting Senna. That's a flat-out ADC Senna we're seeing in the bot lane here.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people, they think that you have to go fasting in order to make it worth it. But if you're with somebody like Braum, you don't really have to fast in order for that matchup to be just fine. You know, the Braum can offer enough safety that Senna can just kind of turn it on. And really it comes down to, you know, is your AD carry or your support a better CS player? And in the melee matchup, it's almost always going to be the AD carry. So just giving the gold over to Senna and watching this matchup play out is going to be just fine. It is definitely going to affect her soul income, but it seems like she's got enough as Shen goes in.
Oh, and a missed taunt from Killer Lil Ninja. They are replying here, but it's going to be Snugglebot getting tagged up by Fluff there. No follow-up, no stun coming out. So really just a disengage, no action, but top side. Timic invading onto Non-Stop Brain. We've seen this song and dance before. Non-Stop Brain gets invaded on very regularly. Flashes coming out from both junglers, but it's first blood coming over to Timic there. And Pendulum getting themselves on the scoreboard first.
Yeah, and that's something that I've seen happen a lot in the Sejuani-Jarvan matchup, and something that I've personally contributed to as well. Jarvan going 3 camps into an invade, while Sejuani goes 3 camps into the red buff. You're just wasting a little bit too much time down on the bot side without the vision around there to really know that you're safe.
Let's put you on hold because we see Killer Ninja going back in again. The Ignite this time taking down onto Ray. There's no damage from Snugglebot to follow up at all, and it just seems like Snugglebot and Killer Ninja might not be on the same page, as Killer Ninja going to take a bit of poke coming out the back end of that engage.
And really, with the Ignite down, they should look to go in again. Here we go.
And they won't get the chance to because it's going to be Fluff Get Smash getting the engage. The stun and the root going to land at the same time. But the good dodge out means they're going to be able to find Killer Lil Ninja. And the flash coming out as well. I don't know why there was no kill potential there. Now Snugglebot trying to run away, but Fluff Get Smash has to be careful. He's extremely low on health here.
There's one coming around.
Yeah, Non-Stop Brain was fishing on the side. Will not find anything, dashing back over the wall. Instead, it's going to be Timic here. He's going to walk into a control ward, and that's going to trigger Ray and Fluff to be careful. But they're still trying to get damage down there. They don't care that J4 showed up. Instead, they're going to ask Non-Stop Brain to come in from the side, wrap around here. And they do have the safety, but it looks like Timic not going to go in on that. And both sides are going to disengage after all that trading. Instead, it's going to be top side. Rings putting down the Ignite there onto Killer Unicorns there. Just barely failing to secure the kill. And Killer Unicorns will be just fine. Still has to teleport to get back into lane immediately here.
Yeah, a little bit of good luck out of that top lane. You know, when you're playing up against the Teemo, if they have Ignite especially, it's really hard to know if you're going to live or if you're just kind of putting your hands in the faith of the Riot gods there. You know, the double ticks coming down are really hard to time when to get out. So, you know, just a slight miscalculation from Teemo, but I don't think there was any way he got in for one extra auto. Had the flash up, so it was possible, but Urgot could just flash just as easily. But getting back to that bot side, I really like the response there because when Pendulum decided to go in, they actually got a little bit of a level disadvantage there. You know, they had the level 2 versus the level 3 as Shen's in trouble. Okay, so nothing's going to happen there. They should just put this wave in a decent freeze like they're going to. It's not like it's necessarily mistimed by Shen, but they just chose to go in my mind, like half a wave too early. I think if they let that wave bounce back to them a little bit more, or they just stop pushing so aggressively and then wait for the level 3, Shen can taunt in there where they actually have the level advantages and have a lot more luck because we got action problems.
And speaking of the flashes in that top lane, Killer Unicorn's using his aggressively there. Will burn Rinks' flash as well, and he might have jumped the gun a little bit early as Timic not going to get there in time. The flag and drag misses. Rinks will be fine. Non-stop brain was in the area, but he was too low to do anything, and just nothing really in the top lane, and it's going to be Rinks continuing to bully out Killer Unicorns for now.
Yeah, and the flash that he used to secure the kill on Sejuani earlier, actually saving Teemo's life there. The fact that Jarvan didn't have that flash up for the EQ flash combo means that Teemo doesn't actually get stunned up, and you know Jarvan has no response. If he has flash up there, maybe they get a chance as an initiation in bot lane. Nothing's at this point, it's going to be a little bit of a stalemate until Shen really decides he wants to go back in. I think we're going to see this lane kind of stabilize until level 6 here.
Yeah, and then you can see just how much poke Ray is putting down on that Senna. I mean, usually Ezreal, the one with the poke advantage with those mystic shots, but Senna's range right now, just able to free fire, and I think that's kind of hard for Killer Lil Ninja as well. Trying to initiate onto that Braum, who is a specialist at PoE, is gonna be rough, but the bot lane's just now hit around level 5, so it will be a while yet before they hit 6, and so we might see an engage just shy. Killer Lil Ninja seeming to constantly just miss a tiny little bit there. The snare comes down, stun to follow, but the shield coming out from Killer Lil Ninja, he's going to be able to dodge out the damage. He'll be fine for now, but it's still going to be snuggled, but constantly shoved under his turret here.
Yeah, and I mean, with no potions or anything, Shen's almost just got to take it back and delay his level 6 even further here. Luckily, the wave seems like it's going to just kind of catch in front of the tower, and he's going to be able to soak this wave. But, you know, when you're playing the Shen matchup, especially into something like Senna Braum, you really have to be in range for those taunts. You can't just
flag and drag in the mid lane. Timic trying to go in, but no Cataclysm to follow up. The disintegration rate gonna come out across. Will force the flash and the barrier from Tommy Peppers there. And that's going to be the out down for Yasuo, but he's doing quite well in the mid lane. Non-stop brain was taking advantage of the fact that Killer Lil Ninja is low on health. They're going to look for the dragon, but he missmited. Timic able to steal that one. It was down to 20 health, and now Cataclysm comes across, but Timic locked himself into the Cataclysm there with a whole bunch of enemies. He will get that first Drake, that Mountain Drake, but will trade his life over as well for that. So it's a 1 for Dragon.
Yeah, and the Cataclysm Flash is a mechanic we've seen from Jarvan all across the world. You know, any region. You try to lock down as many as you can and flash out. He just barely missed on that last one. And then Sejuani already had the passive, so it was really easy for her to pop that. Just barely unable to get out of range there. And I almost wonder if he took Nimbus Cloak or if he took something a little bit more like Cheap Shot in the Dom tree. Yeah, he's got Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter here. So if he has Phase Rush, or if he has Nimbus Cloak there, I think he just gets out. Sejuani's range is not much further than it was there in order to activate that E. So, you know, that's something that I've seen several Jarvans taking. They take the Domination versus the more like standard sorcery tree. I think it's fine. In my mind, I started going Nimbus Cloak, Water Walking, or something like that. I forget what it is exactly, but it just gives a lot more speed up, and most of the junglers take it anyway. So I would imagine that Sejuani's going Precision for the Triumph. It doesn't really matter here that much, but it's still nice to have that extra speed on Jarvan, especially when you're kiting him down.
For sure, and unfortunately that will cost Timic his life. We've said before, Timic not afraid to look for those engages, but sometimes you need to know when to let go, and that kill did go over to Non-Stop Brain. Will be nice for him to sort of try and find himself a little bit of a lead here. As you said, HypE needs to get those leads and look for the engages here before the side of Pendulum really starts to scale up. So they're doing that, and Non-Stop Brain hit it right away. Failed to secure the Drake, no problem. He's going to go for Herald instead. And with Rinks' help, who's way up in CS right now, they're going to be able to do that. But it is going to leave TommyPeppers exposed. No flash available this time. Will get burst down, and TommyPeppers will be feeding a kill over the way of Yasuo only here.
Yeah, and that's a great repeat gank. You know, they knew the flash was down from the earlier attempt, but Cataclysm was much shorter than the flash cooldown. So trading Cataclysm for flash, anytime you can do that is great, especially if it's onto an AD or a mid laner. Using it to secure the kill here, it's an early precursor to what I talked about in Champion Select. They're going to be looking for that very combination on the multiple members every single fight that they get the opportunity to. You know, this is basically just a classic. It's effectively a wombo combo comp here, as Braun may be a little overextended.
For sure, and right now, HypE just sort of content to farm this one up. They know TommyPeppers is exposed. The barrier has come up for Tommy though, so will have a bit more defense. Will not save him from a Cataclysm though, so we have to see how that one goes. Timic was looking top a little bit, but against the Teemo, it's kind of hard, and the mushroom farm is being set up here. It's very difficult to gank a Teemo once he gets snowballing, but despite all that, HypE still up right now significantly in gold, about 1,500 at about 11 minutes here, 11 and a half minutes, and mostly just from lane dominance.
Yeah, I mean, Teemo ready to go to the farmer's market to sell some of those mushrooms up there. As we got another invade here, it looked like the smite may have gone to Jarvan. Okay, it did. Sejuani's smite's not on cooldown, so clearly got the red buff. And this is when it just becomes really oppressive, as we're going to get some action on a Teemo here for sure.
And Rinks might have overstayed his welcome a little bit, but again, the shortened taunt, Killer Little Ninja not able to land that. He's been struggling this game to get that all-important Shen taunt off bot lane. Glacial Fissure comes out, they're hunting Snugglebutt, but even with the nerf to Arcane Shift, Snugglebutt going to be safe on the Ezreal, does back out, gets completely zoned out from the turret though, and top lane, the gank failed. Rinks will be fine, did blow his flash though, so could potentially look for a repeat gank into the top lane, but it's going to be Non-Stop Brain moving up there first to back up Rinks here.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get a flash, try to repeat gank it. It's something that I don't find myself being able to do very successfully as a jungler, but it's something I know I should be trying. Sejuani ult's going to go a little wide. They should have the Herald here to get this tower. And now it's going to be a 3k gold lead over to red team, but really, I can't say that they've been playing it much better than the blue team has here. And I forget, is it Pendulum on the left and
yes, it's
HypE
Pendulum
on
the blue side, HypE on the red side here.
Yeah, so I mean, to Pendulum's credit, they've been playing this early game fairly well. They just haven't been coming down with all of the kills and all of the success that they need to as we've worked our way into this gold deficit, mostly from the top lane difference here, but as well as the bot lane.
For sure, and that is actually something for the side of HypE Esports. Ray has shown himself to be that sort of playmaking playmaker, and they do now catch Killer Little Ninja out of position here. The shield just going to block the damage for a little bit, will not be enough to save him, and that's going to give numbers advantage to HypE as they're starting up the second Drake. They're starting up the Drake for the second time, and can Timic look for the steal? He's quite a ways away now, trying to run it. He's not going to get there in time. And this time, Non-Stop Brain able to secure that. The Disintegration Ray coming out from Yasuo only will not be able to proc the passive on anyone. So not a ton of damage coming out. And that's going to be that very, very important Ocean Drake going the way of HypE Esports here.
Yeah, and we're going to see the Infernal Soul this Rift, so it's definitely not going to be a boring one. Speaking of not boring, we're seeing some action on the bot lane. They're going to settle to catch out Jarvan here, maybe, but... yeah, never mind. They're just gonna walk out, clear the wards. Really good vision control there around that dragon. That's kind of what enabled them to take it pretty safely. They had wards on either side of the wall, as well as a control ward in the pit, and one just off from the pixel brush. So far, HypE really playing around that vision game, and they're just trying to snowball this early lead, as we're definitely going to see some action here in the bot lane.
Timic looking from the side, and Killer Lil Ninja going in again. Still not able to land the taunt. Glacial Fissure comes across. They tag all three. And now Timic has to run for the hills because he's kind of low. The stun lands onto Snuggle, but he's going to stand up, get taken down. He's dead already. And now Killer Lil Ninja and Timic have to reevaluate. Are they going to stick around into this turret? Because they might just pull the trigger for a dive. Fluff gets smashed, is still extremely healthy on the Braum. Fairly tanky. They can always trade off the turret aggro as well. And Killer Lil Ninja being forced off that turret, going to taunt away, and that's going to be the second turret going down in favor of HypE Esports, now in the bot lane this time.
Yeah, and looking at how far ahead this bot lane has gotten, it's going to be pretty hard to just burst them down. You know, the Senna's going to go pretty tanky with the new build. She's got the Mirror Mana. I'm assuming she's going to get the Frozen Mallet at some point. That's probably what this Phage is becoming, I would assume. Maybe a Black Cleaver here, honestly. I'm not quite sure, but regardless, they're both going to have health. You can see she's got the Kindle Gem and the Phage, so you know she'll get the on-hit to get the movement speed, and then she's going to be so tanky. It's just really hard for Jarvan to actually find a target, and they're going to have to try to start grouping up or find something here before this gets too out of hand. Right now, 4K gold at 15 minutes. That's a pretty big deficit, but you know, due to their teamfight prowess and the lead they have in the mid lane, I think with the Vel'Koz true damage, they can still find some fights. It's just going to get more difficult from here if they can't somehow stop this bleeding.
For sure, so Pendulum going to have to try and find some sort of way to set up a fight, allow Yasuo only, who is, I believe, the only member on their team right now, to actually be ahead at the end of the laning phase to try and get his ultimate, the Disintegration Ray, off and get that true damage down. Now Killer Lil Ninja finally landing a taunt, but it's onto Non-Stop Brain, and he's got no backup whatsoever, so he will just have to disengage after going in there. Unfortunately for him, Timic sat right on top of a ward. The Cataclysm right away. The Senna ultimate coming out. Will it be enough? The Stand United coming out as well. Non-Stop Brain has shown up. Does not have the Glacial Prison available just yet. And it's going to be Yasuo only coming across with the Disintegration Ray. He picks up a double kill onto the bot lane right now of HypE Esports. And Non-Stop Brain having to disengage right away. The ultimate now finally is up. That is the Glacial Prison available. But does he have any backup at all? He's only got Tommy Peppers. There is the Shockwave combo available as well. Are they going to go for this? Looks like they might try, but the Herald is ticking down to 3,000 health. The ultimate comes out. It's only going to catch Killer Lil Ninja. Command Shockwave comes out. Will not find a single kill. Not even that much damage either. And Timic finally able to secure themselves the Herald. That's a 3-for-0. Meanwhile, Ring's just going to split push in the bot lane. And Rage is going to join him with that teleport on the Senna. They trade a Herald, which is turret damage, for a straight up inner turret in that bot lane here.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's the good time to go in to try to...
sorry, I have to put you on hold. It's Timic going in onto Tommy Peppers. They're looking for damage, but still but not able to follow up. They won't get the damage down. No Cataclysm available this time. Tommy will survive for now.
Now it's going to be a feels bad, man. Hitting the flash and then missing the QW and then getting burst down after that. It's just kind of unlucky positioning there from Ezreal. I don't think you should be going for that aggressively of a play, especially after the EQ combo missed from Jarvan and the Cataclysm's down. There's not really a high chance of that working out. Both summoners still up for Orianna. I don't know if he knows that or not, but it's just a really dangerous thing to do, especially against an Orianna who could even just shield herself and walk away anyway.
Sure, and we did see Shelly being called immediately into the mid lane there. Unfortunately, does not pay off. It does not get the charge off, and they don't find anything with the Herald. Instead, they end up losing their last outer turret here. And you were saying that they need to stem the bleeding or things are just going to get harder. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they've figured out a way just yet, as HypE Esports, despite being even in terms of kills right now, seems to be dominating in terms of the macro play.
Yeah, and you know, the gold gap hasn't widened, so in a sense they have stemmed the bleeding, but it's not going to feel like that to Pendulum right now. You know, they're going to feel like they just lost a lot there as we've got another initiation.
And they're looking to try and find a catch here, but they don't quite have it yet. Now Fluff gets smashed, aggressively flashing in, but that's onto Snuggle, but he's got no flash available. The Arcane Shift already used, and Raid gonna be able to lock that kill down on one of the slipperiest ADCs in the game. And that should give them the license here to start up the Inferno Drake. They do have priority on it, and it comes down once again to can Timic steal this yet a second time in a row. He's a little bit far, and this Drake is getting absolutely shredded right now.
No.
It will go down. There's no way to contest. Instead, it looks like they might try and go for that mid lane turret. No, they're gonna back out. They know they don't have the numbers for this.
Yeah, no numbers, no real reason to fight either. You know, it's not like it's Soul Point or Soul. So
Oh,
Shin
but
can
Killer
kind
Lil
of
Ninja,
actually.
is he going to get caught out here? The Glacial Prison comes across, only the slow, not the stun, and he's going to be able to walk out for now, but it's not been Killer Lil Ninja's game. He's 0-2-3 and really been struggling to find anything right now in this game.
Yeah, it's just been the taunts that have been missing. You know, it's when you play the support Shen, as again, he still can't find the recall. This is going to delay him even more. Now he might not even recall before he tries to defend this tower. I mean, there's nothing that there's not even a reason to defend here. You know, they're not going to push in for an inhib tower here, and then they're certainly not going to get the inhib yet. But it's certainly close. As the variant spawning in 5 seconds, and they're just having their way with this jungle. I've been in this situation a lot. It's going to be really hard for Jarvan to find any farm around the map. You know, he's basically just secluded to his top side, blue side quadrant, and that's just not enough gold to sustain the items that he needs, especially going the greedier Black Cleaver route here. He's pretty much never going to be able to find this. If you go damage Jarvan and you fall behind, there's just no way that you're going to buy back into this game.
Well, they're going to have to try and find something somehow here, as we did see Yasuo only able to finally get the first start of the game for the side of Pendulum in that top lane. And, I mean, despite them being very, very far down, well, not very, very far down, 4,000 gold down at this point, like you said, not a increase. The Yasuo only is actually 4-0 right now. It does have to flash out to make sure he does not get tagged there. He might be fed, he might have a lot of kills, but he's still very, very squishy.
Yeah, and really with Pendulum going 5 squishies here, 4 squishies plus the Shen, who's not really going to be able to get online given his performance so far. They just have to kind of slow down the pace of the game, give up this Baron, wait it out. You know, you've got decent enough wave clear with Vel'Koz that maybe you can just survive the first push. If you can survive it without losing an inhib, that's great. I think definitely you're going to lose that tier 2 top, and you're probably going to lose an inhib tower. But if they can force a fight to save an inhib and maybe take off a couple members of that Baron, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. Shen should not be face-backing this.
And they do go in. They have to try and stop the Baron. The disintegration ray comes across, but it only finds Fluff and Smash. That's just the support. They've traded Timic over, and he's their smite carrier. No smite available means they will have a really, really rough time trying to steal this one away from Non-Stop Brain, and Non-Stop able to secure this one. Killer Lil Ninja diving in late. He's going to go down. Yasuo only does manage to find Rings though, but a beautiful Glacial Prison to catch the 2 carries, and they're trying to turn this one around. Ray able to dodge out. He's trying to pump out the sustained damage, but he's a Senna. Can he do it? He's got burst. He does not have sustain. Snugglebutt just throwing Q's backwards, mystic shots as he's trying to survive here, but will he get tagged? Just barely sidesteps the snare, but the last auto will be enough from Ray, and that's going to be Baron going over the way of HypE Esports. Just remaining on 2 members, Tommy Peppers and Ray here.
Yeah, and in that fight, I'd have to check what Ezreal's Arcane Shift cooldown was. It looks like he was trying to save it to get a little bit greedy and go back in for that poke, but he's got no lifesteal and just the Sheen, so it's not like he's going to be able to kill that Senna in 1 auto, whereas she is going to be able to by hitting that Q and hitting him with 30 HP. So I think it's much better to just flash that edge of the wall and hope to stay alive. You know her Q's on cooldown, her ult's on cooldown. Just looking to survive there is probably your only play, but that's really, really good control for HypE. You know, they set up around that Baron. Pendulum, they made the decision as a team to go to try to contest it. I personally think that was the wrong one. You know, giving up that Baron and just trying to survive and wave cleared out is probably the right call. But death timers were low enough that they're all going to be able to get back anyway.
For sure, they are up now, and now they're facing an even bigger uphill task because they're trying to defend their inhibitors against a Baroned up team. And Timic already being taken down low, like you said, that damage build not working here for him. And Senna with that advanced range, able to continue just poking down on the inhibitor turret. It is sink or swim right now for Pendulum, but they're taking so much poke right now, and they're not going back to base. Yasuo only, Nurse Snuggle, but the 2 carries already low, and the next wave now in with the Baron buff here. Ray topping off the entirety of HypE Esports, and Killer Unicorns might go down. Nope, the Cataclysm instead coming out. They find Ray. Disintegration comes across, but Timic getting melted immediately, and it's going to be followed by Killer Ninja, who once again fails to land a solid taunt across the bulk of the team, and Snugglebutt going to be the next one down. Glacial Prison comes across. They find Yasuo only. This could be the game here as they take the inhibitor turret, they take the inhibitor, and they've just got the 1 siege cannon minion who will not tank this up. Is Non-Stop Brain going to tank it up? Killer Unicorns, the last one standing for Pendulum right now. He's going to try and hold on best he can, but the wave is finally in. Killer Lil Ninja will be up in 5 seconds. Timic in yet another 5, and that's going to be one Nexus turret going down here. They're going to set their eyes on the next one. That's the second Nexus turret down. Now Pendulum starting to come back up here. Can they hold this? They're going to definitely try. Killer Unicorns does get stunned up. The initiate from Timic here. They've got non-stop brain dead, but he's just a tank, and they traded Killer for it. Timic is low, and they're just going to continue focusing the Nexus. They just need to do this. Tommy Peppers is focused. They're going to end the game. Fluff gets smashed, gets the Nexus credit, and HypE winning game 1 here in just shy of 25 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, they closed it out pretty quickly, and, you know, they really managed to snowball that 4K gold lead. And to Pendulum's credit, they managed to hold it at 4K for a while, but considering their builds, you know, super far behind on Urgot, still going damage. Really far behind on Jarvan, still going damage. That's just not really how you come back in these kinds of games. You have to just sacrifice some of your items. If you haven't gotten your damage item by the time you're really far into that situation, like you kind of have to start pivoting, and there's not really much flexibility in that Urgot build from what I know. It almost has to be Black Cleaver in a death stance, so I can't put too much blame onto the build there. To me, I'm turning towards the Jarvan. You know, he started a little bit of a snowball build, so he went warrior. I understand that. But once you start feeling that momentum shift, maybe you're thinking Stone Plate instead of Black Cleaver, especially if Urgot already has Black Cleaver and you don't really have a huge amount of AD damage on your team anyway from between Vel'Koz and Ezreal and Shen. You know, kind of doing the split AP. Maybe you put the Black Cleaver off on the shelf for some other day. You know, focus on what you're supposed to be doing, which is locking them down and staying alive, in order to enable the Vel'Koz and Ezreal damage to come through in the fights.
For sure, and I mean, despite all of that, though, Yasuo put up a great showing. He's 6-2-1 on this Vel'Koz here, so that's definitely one thing that can stick in. And going into game 2 here, I know you mentioned you didn't like the build path here of Timic, but what do you think Pendulum needs to do to fix themselves for game 2 here?
You know, I think if they run even just this exact composition, but maybe they either switch out the Shen or they switch out the Ezreal that went with the Shen, I think that's going to be kind of the way that you play that bot lane. You know, put somebody a little bit more aggressive down there, somebody that can snowball a little bit or get early kills, or at least somebody that can really scale into the late game with consistent damage. To me, I'm always a fan of the simpler AD carries that can put out a lot of damage, or, you know, maybe something like a Felios, which can just become a late game god. But I don't think that Ezreal has low amounts of damage. I just think it's pretty inconsistent to hit it under the target that you want, especially if you're fighting into minion waves. So to me, the classic combination is J4 MF, something that you can just layer on the ults again. You know, if you get the J4 MF, and you just position it to the back of your team fights, you can also play it a little more aggressively with Shen. You know, if should he hit a taunt into the bot lane, you have a little bit more burst damage to immediately follow it up with. You don't have to worry about the minions. In fact, you can even use the minions to put your double up into the back line. I don't think that it was a bad composition. I don't think that the top lane matchup went exactly how they wanted. The mid lane matchup went pretty much exactly how they wanted, but I didn't see them doing too much with it. They had one pretty decent use of their skills around the I believe it was either the Rift Herald or I think it was the Rift Herald. They found a fight. They picked up the second Rift Herald, but then you know, they traded the bot lane tower for it. So to me, their composition wasn't really a problem. It's just managing to stem some of that bleeding and maybe not get so far behind in your solo lanes, as well as a little bit beefier.
For sure. So maybe a bit more of a tank in game 2. And other than that, just more mechanics, making sure that they don't fall too far behind in laning. And that has been something that Pendulum's not really struggled with all split. So we'll have to see how they come back in game 2. And I'm sure they will be able to bounce back. Pendulum, not a team to take a loss lying down. And with that, we are going to head into a quick intermission break while we set up for game 2. So stick around and we'll be right back.